and perhaps tie one just to show us how it's done.
Well, fantastic collection of flies, Geoff. I mean, it's everything but the kitchen sink as well. Is there any sort of, is there any sort of simplified way of looking at these things? Are there just certain types of patterns in these then?
Yeah, there's probably 2 or 3 basic variants of fly. There's the deceiver type, lefty crazed deceiver type fly, which basically is constructed so that it swims with the hook pointing downwards, with some hackles which are tied towards the bend of the hook. One of the benefits of that being is that it doesn't foul around as easily around
I'm with you.
the actual
I'm with you. Yeah, I've
itself.
noticed that when I fish with them.
And
sometimes.
that is probably one of the 3 most important things that you look for when you're tying a fly, is for it not to foul.
Not to foul, yeah.
Not to foul.
Otherwise you waste fishing
You're
time,
absolutely wasting.
Yeah.
So there's a deceiver type pattern which basically swims with a hook point down and is with some wiggling feathers at the back to entice a strike. And they come in different sizes, obviously. It's horses for courses, depending upon what sort of fish you're going for and what conditions there are. And they can go right up to huge, great things like this, or even.
So that's
big.
still a deceiver.
That's still
type,
a deceiver with the hackles tied towards the rear of the hook, so they don't foul. But that is a deceiver pattern which fishes that way up. Against that, I mean, especially for our waters, we would look at flies which perhaps were more imitative of creatures such as sand eels.
Yeah.
And whenever possible, what I try to do is make the actual fly fish so that the hook point is upwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
can see already that must have advantages, must it?
Yes, it has advantages of not catching as frequently on the bottom. We can bounce it off rocks, and it can pull through weed a bit better. So there would be a sand eel type, and between the variants on that and these deceiver patterns really make up the rest of the flies.
Right. And what about with these things? I mean, do they foul on the hook more than the other deceiver type, or not?
They do foul, but in order to prevent them, basically you tie it down to as near the bend as possible, or put some epoxy or something.
So the critical thing is to have it tied as near the bend of the hook as you can.
It is on that. There is one other alternative to that, whereby you could, if you have the material tied right at the front, then it can't really foul. It doesn't matter if it goes that way or that way, because it's not going to foul.
Yeah.
So that is a third way of doing it. Rather than tying it right to the end, you tie it right at the front. Yeah. And in many cases, I think that's.
But those 2 basic ideas, one with the hook riding upwards and one with the hook downwards.
Yeah. From that, you can build all sorts of flies.
And have you tied all these yourself then?
Yes, they're all tied myself. It's not too bad in this country. Your flies would last as long as you want, really. I mean, you may lose one.
But the hooks don't rust then, do they?
The hooks don't rust. You could tie them on hooks that would rust, but the problem is if you're wanting to use it time and time again, you've invested the time to make the fly.
Waste, isn't it?
It's a waste of time. So basically, the hooks are constructed of stainless steel or some less corrosive material so that it won't rust. Again, it's important to get, in my opinion, to get really good hooks for fly tying, because you're going to invest the time in it. But all these, when they get shot at, the flies, all I do is cut it all off and use the same hook again. Yeah. So that hook might have been used.
So the hook might well cost you, but it's worth it.
It's worth it.